The gorge, Olduvai Gorge, because a lot of this grows within the gorge. It's got another nice name too, mother-in-law's tongue, and you can see why. It's got a point and it's rubbery. But this is wild sisal, and amongst the native peoples of Africa this has been used for making snares and for making bowstring. Some people call it the bowstring hemp, and it's quite interesting how you get the fibres from it. Very succulent plant. What I need to do is to break it down by pounding it like this. You can see the fibres starting to separate there. Plant's comprised almost solidly of fibres. I learned to do this from Bushmen down in the Kalahari. The pounding is just the first stage. You can see the plant softening now. And what I want to do is to split it open like that, all the way down its length. Pound it just gently now. So now on the other end of the stick I've carved it to form sort of a blade shape like that. I'm going to use that now to scrape out the pulp. Now you get to a point where some of the fibres are starting to lift out from the pulp. What we do is we comb those out like that. And then specifically scrape them down to the bare fibre. You can hang those on a bush to dry. There we go, there's the raw material. Nice long fibres for which we can make very strong string. Just add new fibres in as you need. The key thing is to keep these strands equal thicknesses. If one gets thinner than the other, it will tend to wrap around the thick one, and then you only have the strength of one strand rather than the strength of the two combined. These sorts of skills are disappearing because of the availability of man-made fibres, but you think about it, there's not a lot of effort involved in making this stuff, and it's completely biodegradable and just simply grows back. Mateli has his own string for the pouch. It's a simple strip of bark.
He said that, well, I'm ready. I have, I'm going on a journey, and I have the sword, a spear, and a stick with his food when he's going a long distance traveling.
Yeah. So where are we going then? With Mateli ready at last, we were off across the vast open plains. This is what safari is all about. The experience of being on foot has always inspired me. It's so different from being in a vehicle. Seeing the wildlife close up and walking alongside filled me with awe. Africa is a land of huge horizons, and it's only on foot that you get the most honest perspective. So is this a manada? This is a seasonal village where Mateli's family once lived. It's now deserted. Amazing to think that these huts were for one family. Mateli's father had a staggering 22 wives. a window.
Yeah, small one here.
Yeah. This is the Masai window, tiny little window, but it gives them a chance to look outside. And they like the insides of the houses to be dark because it keeps the flies from coming in. But tell you, you've lived all your life in a house like this?
Yeah.
Amazing. The roof's covered in dung as well as the sides.
Yes.
The last time I saw the Masai houses, they had thatched roofs. They use whatever is available from the countryside around. The huts looked as though they'd grown out of the landscape. Once a thriving community, the huts are now crumbling, having been abandoned when the rains failed and the family had to move on. Can we have a look around outside?
Yeah. And that's the other part for goats and sheep.
The goats and sheep, it's a little boma for goats and sheep. Boma is the word the Masai use for the fencing they construct out of spiny bush around their village. If it looks vicious, it needs to be. The cattle and indeed Masai children might otherwise provide a meal for the wild animals that roam this territory. Mitelli, if there were 22 wives, how many children were there?
Yeah, they counted his children. There were 68.
68 children?
Yes.
Were they all his own?
Serious?
Yes, they were all his own.
Yeah.
And did the wives get on?
Yeah. Yeah, and they are okay because he has a lot of cows.
The Masai may be farmers, but they still live closely with nature, having to adapt themselves to changes in their environment. Their simple way of life makes it easy for them to move on when needs must. Sites like this are common in a continent where people live more closely with their surroundings. You've got datura growing here.
Okay.
It's one of these plants that, these are the seeds. One of the English names for this is moon seed, and because in some parts of the world people use this as a hallucinogen. In North America, the witch doctors or medicine men use this so they can contact the spirits. But if they overdo it, they never come back. They're there with the fairies forever. We had to start looking for a campsite in good time as night falls quickly in this part of the world. We'd be camping Masai-style, no pitching tents, just the vegetation around us for protection. We're going to stay here.
They said this is a good place, a spot for the camp, and because there's a last
there was an old fire here with the 3 stones.
Fire here, so we just make around here.
So we're going to put a boma up around here for protection.
We make our boma here, and we make a door through here.
Okay.
Then we make our place to sleep here.
Okay, I'll get the fire going. An old weaver bird's nest makes ideal natural tinder. I've heard that you always light your fire first, is that true?
Yes.
Yeah? Why is that?
Because this can help us to make everything. So to chase maybe if there's animals, they can smell smoke,
yep,
and then
they go away.
Yeah.
So the fire is the most important thing.
Very important.
Yeah.
And for the people of Masai, if they smell the smoke, they can identify where people live.
So if someone gets lost, you can find them by the smoke.
Yes. For those who are lost, they can come and find where you live.